Hi, everyone. I'm here with Coach Ben Murphy from Sacapee Valley, Maine. Coach Ben has coached at a lot of different schools. He's coached JV and varsity basketball, boys and girls side of the game. And he currently has jumped into coaching middle school basketball, which I have a lot of respect for that because that's a pretty big undertaking at the middle school level. And Coach Murphy and I are going to talk about small-sided games, and Coach is going to share a couple of his favorites with us today. So how you doing, Coach?
Doing good. Thanks for the introduction there. Yeah, middle school is a big switch this year. So today I was going to go through just a couple of 1v1 games that our guys liked that we threw at them this year, just to help with some decision-making that really we hope translates into the game, because it certainly deals with stuff that happens quite often in the game. So I'll get right into it. I'll share my screen here, and we'll talk about a couple of the games that we like to play. So if you can see this here, we call this elbow. I'm sure that people can call it whatever they want to call it, but and we have it listed here. Typically we start off and I'll be the guy at the elbow as a coach, kind of throwing those passes and handoffs, but then we want to get players involved as passers as soon as we can. But the way elbow works, as you can see, is it's a 1v1 game. We typically start from a dead ball because we want to get our guys used to like faking a pass and making a pass and not lobbing a pass to that high post area. And so basically it's pretty simple. You got to get a pass to an unguarded guy at the elbow here, and you're either making a straight cut to the rim or you are curling over the middle and trying to get a handoff and score that way. And we really are trying to promote getting to the rim and finishing at the rim rather than pulling up behind the guy for a jump shot or something like that. Although some of our guys do that who can shoot from outside, but we really want to promote attacking, because if you throw that right pass and you make the right cut, you really should have a lane to the rim without any defense around. So we threw that one at them. We probably did this a couple of times a week. I like it for a few reasons. One, it promotes kind of movement after the pass, and then just a simple kind of A/B decision. Kind of just judge where your defender is leaning and head the opposite way. So and my thought with our guys, since they're just learning, is that I'd rather have you make the wrong decision pretty quickly than no decision at all. So it kind of forced them to pass and immediately cut and develop that habit. And they got okay.
Just to interject here. What's your kind of there's so many small-sided games out there,
Sure.
And what I really appreciate about what you do, when you share stuff, and you've written a bunch of blogs that I posted up to my site, and done a really great job. And what I really appreciate about what you do is that you share things that work for your team, and you really think about how do we need to get better, what do we need to get better at, and you think about small-sided games to really incorporate that decision-making, which this is clearly an example. But just thinking about all the coaches out there that, you can go on websites and get one small-sided game after the next. So what's your advice to those coaches, and how have you been able to kind of find things that, like this great example, that work well for your team?
Yeah, so I was definitely that guy when I first started moving over to teaching through small-sided games. I was just gobbling up everything I could because it appealed to me. And then after a while, it's like any, even if you run just basic drills, you find some that you like and find some that you don't like. And so a lot of it was trial and error. You do some stuff and you go, I don't really think that we need that, or I don't really think that happens to us all that often. And so it really was just a process of gathering everything I could find when I first started doing it, and then whittling down to stuff that the kids enjoyed doing. I think that's a big thing, and just stuff that's I try to err on the side of simplicity. Like we could do this drill for a solid 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less, before adding an element to it. But it's a good way to kind of get started. It works on some, especially at the middle school level. Passing and moving correctly after the pass is a weakness of a lot of players. We have some guys that are super young. Some of our 7th graders are like just getting started with basketball. And so learning how to do this, move without the ball after you throw it, is helpful. And so I just thought, hey, we're gonna do some simple stuff here that's gonna get you some slightly contested looks at the rim without without making it too complicated.
What's the so you mentioned the progression here.
Mhm.
What is the progression of this drill? And thinking about the middle school level, or really, I mean, I think these are drills you could use really at any level. I'm thinking high school, even at the college
Yep.
level, as I
Yep.
work out players that are at that level, that this is a great drill for them. So, what is the next progression, and how do you teach that really at any level?
Sure. So what we're looking for, I'll answer the what we're looking for first. So all we're trying to do is have this guy, X1's going to do something, right? He's either going to sag back, or he's going to hop over this way, or he's going to drop. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to move a little bit. And so we tell our guys to kind of eyeball what that defender's doing, or walk him into doing something, and then go the other way. So like, if you're planning on, cutting around, maybe make a jab to a straight cut and then go around, or vice versa. It's kind of sucker the defense into doing something, and then take advantage of that. So we really try to teach them to be deceptive in their first couple of steps, or try to be anyway, because if you can do that in the first couple of steps, you probably got them beat. And you can do this at any level. I've done this with high school varsity guys. As we build into it, the progression is pretty simple. If you want to turn it into a 2v2 game, like if you're a team that runs a lot of 4-out, if you have like a 4-out system of any sort of, and you want to put your 5-man in this post area, we like our guys in the high post. I just like to have the basket area undefended, or kind of some space there, rather than a guy clogging the post. So we'll, after our guys get the hang of that, we add the option. We put a guy in the corner, and we add the option of down screening, which is a whole other element, because it adds a third decision for this guy passing, and then it creates a whole, like, a down screen here is a whole number of things that could happen, and you're teaching that as well. I've worked with varsity guys in the summer, and we basically did the 1v1 and this, and that's all we got to in about an hour, because just teaching reads in this down screen area takes a lot longer than you would think. Like the handoff or the straight cut, they kind of get that relatively quickly. Like, they can, for some reason, read that defense, their own defender, pretty quickly. But when it comes to setting a screen, you're going to have 4 guys in a pretty compact area, and a lot of times this guy in the corner, for lack of a better term, is illiterate on how they read screens, and so you're really working with them on all of their options. Like, we tell our guys, like, no matter what happens, let's take a couple of steps in and see how 2 reacts. Because if you can just blow by them and back cut them, then you don't even need to use a screen. So we talk about back cutting, or curling over the top, or popping and actually going to use the handoff yourself. That's another one we talk to, because a down screen into a handoff is really hard to guard. And a lot of our guys actually, like, they never thought about it like that. And once they got the idea of, holy cow, I can get a screen and then get a handoff, and man, that's you're creating a lot of mess for the defense to fight through, and you probably have a way to attack over the top. So then, now you're teaching this guy something, and you're teaching this guy something. And by the way, you're learning defense along the way. You're not ignoring the fact that, like, this guy can play it in any number of ways, and this guy can play it in any number of ways. And you can, like, if you're a coach that wants to focus on defense, you could do that too. If, like, you're like, hey, we want to lock and trail all of our off ball screens, or we want to go under all of their screens, or whatever you prefer. I think that's one of the great things about any small sided games. You can kind of tailor it and modify it to whatever you want to accomplish. For us, I'm really more about teaching offensive skills at our level, because our kids lack them. And I think reading screens is a pretty under-taught skill. And so I don't spend too much time with, how we specifically want our guys defending those screens. We just say, play some defense, fight through it. If they want to switch, sometimes they switch. We'll talk about, the different things that can happen if they switch. So we'll teach as they go, but we let the defense be random, but you could assign them a certain coverage if you wanted to.
Yeah, what I like about this, just like other small-sided games, and you kind of talked about this a little bit, is the number of different options that can come off it. And it's not, you're teaching kids how to play basketball. There's a lot of different reads, and these are actions that, you're using in games with your team. And, you've really kind of done a nice job of making it something that's specific, that works for what you guys do. And just off of this game, I can think of other ways that would incorporate other offensive actions. You know, you showed us the example of the screen, the pass and the cut, and there's obviously others. Is there other progressions that you do off of this, or that you would recommend, or would you?
Yeah, I mean, sure. In this diagram, I just went down to like the 3-on-3 level. And again, you can just see like all it does is add the same option here. You can add a guy kind of going across again, you know, simulating a 4-out offense, and you can kind of cross screen for that other guard. And then he's got the same options as the first guard had. He can go with the handoff, he can straight cut, he can do whatever, right? So you just keep adding guys in as you go. An interesting thing, I'll scroll back, it's probably easier to do on this one, is we leave the elbow unguarded for a while, just to get guys used to just making that pass and making the cut and not worry about kind of throwing through defense. But when we do add a defender in, a lot of times they'll kind of sit behind them, right? And when we get a good defender, what they'll realize is if they deny, that's going to be a really tough pass to complete. And so then that's a whole other level of things you got to teach, because then it becomes not a handoff, but what we have them do is instead of throwing it, we can kind of modify the diagram as we go. What we have this guy do is just screen his own man. So if X5 is going to fight that hard to get over there, we're just going to screen him, and that should open up the lane. And so what happens is X1's got to dive through like 2 guys rather than 1. But that's only like a progression that we would get to in our more advanced, you know, if we've done it a bunch of times and we're starting to let the defense do whatever they want, or if you just got a smart guy defending the 5 and he's realized like, hey, if I deny that, it screws some things up, then you got to teach the counter. So that's a good one though, because guys never, like, kids don't think about, hey, I can screen my own guy and create just as much havoc as, you know, screening for the 1, and that worked out well a few times for us. So
I love how you gave us kind of the progression, and I'm thinking about that 5, and you know, if they move out from the elbow out to the perimeter, how that opens up a little gap there and a little bit of a brush cut that you can use in there. And I'm just thinking a lot of teams that run horn sets, and I think this is a great way to kind of split the court in half and start to teach the progression for teams that are using those types of sets. But it's also great if you're a motion offense team, and I just think it's a great small-sided game that you can use in a lot of different ways. And like I said, you could probably add some other wrinkles to it. I think one of the other things that comes up, just kind of thinking about other small-sided games, is the pass and cut option. When players pass, they cut through, and you kind of have that player who replaces. And I know you've talked about this in the past, but you have a small-sided game for that as well, right?
Yeah, so I pulled it up here. We call it read line 1